morning and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33 WHPR Comcast 20 in Detroit. And I'd like to welcome you this Valentine's Day and happy Valentine's. But, that's a Hallmark holiday, but people do celebrate it and people are celebrate their loved ones. Well, I celebrated. I talked to my grandson this morning. I said, Happy Valentine's Day to you. But love should be year-round. In fact, Valentine's Day should be year-round because treat the persons that you love with love. And I have a wonderful, wonderful show for you this morning. I'm very, very excited because I have Scott Meyers here from the production. Well, he's going to be talking about the production Porgy and Bess that is coming very soon to the Grand Opera House, and we all know that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful production. And we also have Miss Karen Samuels here, and Karen is going to be talking about the WGPR Historical Society, and a lot of you are familiar with WGPR. Also, during Scott's segment, we have an actor calling in from New York, one of the actors, the actor who plays Crown in Porgy and Bess. So I am just indubitably excited this morning because I'm a theater person and this is my bailiwick. So without further ado, here's Scott. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Good morning, Brenda. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, why don't you tell our audience what your position is?
Oh, sure. I am the Director of Marketing for Broadway in Detroit, and that's the Fisher Theater primarily. But every year we present 2 to 3 shows at the Detroit Opera House. So,
and the Detroit Opera House is right at Grand Circus Park. Well,
yeah, it's right off of Grand Circus Park on Broadway.
It used to be a movie theater.
I know. It was it still is a gorgeous building.
House. Yeah, a lot of us went. In fact, that whole area down there was full of movie theaters. Yeah. The Madison, the Grand. In fact, that was the Grand Circus, I believe.
Yes,
that was the Grand Circus Theater, and of course it was the Fox, and we had the Palms and the Adams. So it was just so many theaters.
Yeah.
It was really, really. When I say theaters, I'm talking about movie theaters. They were movie theaters mostly at that time, but before that, they were houses that had live shows.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the movie theaters in the 20s, when that was built, had live acts that played before the movies.
Yes.
There'd be someone playing a piano or an organ, and then there'd be, I think at the Fox, they had the Tillerettes, I think was their name. So, yeah, they had performances before the movies.
That may be before my time.
I am sure that is before your time.
But at the Fox, of course, we saw the Motown Review, which was a live. Oh, it was live.
And, we have Motown the Musical coming.
Yes, I heard, and you're going to be my new best friend. No, I really heard about that, and I really, of course, prior to it coming, want to arrange for you to come back, and we talk about that because everybody's been talking about it.
Yeah, and we are very, very excited to have that show come back. We've been meeting with them for a long time, and Detroit is going to be a big, big market for them. They are so excited to come home.
Yeah. Yeah, this is home. When is that coming?
That is going to be in October, and that's October and November of this year.
Whoa.
But before we get that,
we're getting ready to talk about the musical that I love with so many of the great, great songs.
Yeah.
Summertime. Oh, anyway, a lot of great songs in that.
And it is a historic musical. I mean, it has been done by, we were talking before, it has been done by opera companies throughout the world. It has been done by musical theater companies throughout the United States, throughout the world, and we're excited to have this tour of the Broadway production. And the Broadway production was huge, received so many accolades. Audra McDonald played Bess in that production. So unfortunately we don't have her coming, but we have a lot of the Broadway company
and
is
caliber artists, because you have artists who graduated from Juilliard, University of Michigan, every place. And you know, in order to get into a show like Porgy and Bess, you have to be the best.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we present. We present the best Broadway. And we couldn't be more excited to have this show.
I'm very excited myself. And the show comes on,
It's going to be here March 4th through the 9th.
that's such a short period of
We only have it
time.
for a week, just a week.
Just a week.
Yeah. And it's going to be there at the Opera House. Our tickets are on sale. Actually, right now, I want to say for Valentine's Day, we have a special promotion going on. So if you don't have your tickets yet on Ticketmaster.com, they're doing a 2-for-1 deal today.
You're
so,
kidding.
No, you can go on Ticketmaster.com and just click through to the ticket deals. They call it their ticket deals. And some of the shows have 2-for-1 tickets. Is
Oh.
it fun? It's great.
Oh, that's amazing. That is totally exciting. And you know that George Gershwin wrote the music for Porgy and Bess. In fact, he wrote it.
Yeah, they presented. I think it's 1935 in Boston was the first time, and it was an all African American cast. It was an incredible production. Got huge reviews there. They moved it to Broadway. It was such a huge show. It was 4 hours long. Can you believe that?
I know.
4 hour long show when they did it, and Broadway didn't know what to do with it. They loved it, but they were like, it's huge. So after that, he edited and cut it down, and then took the tour on the road, where that was the first time in history at the National Theater in Washington, D.C. When they went there, Todd Duncan and Anne Brown, who played the leads in that first tour, they were going to play at the National Theater in Washington, D.C., and they were both, they said to the owners of the National Theater, we will not perform if you don't integrate this house.
Oh.
And they went back and forth until the owners of the theater agreed, and it was the first performance ever at the National Theater in D.C. that had a fully integrated house.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it is amazing that at the foot of government, Washington, D.C., people have had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a former student who graduated from Adelphi in New York, and she did her master's at Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and she played one of the characters in Streetcar Named Desire. And yes, but it was a big deal because that character at that house in Washington was only played by a white woman, unfortunately. Sure. And you would think the seat of government would be a little more liberal and forthcoming.
Yeah, everywhere.
You know, the thing about Porgy and Bess, it was made into a film in 1959. And maybe some of the older people, and I saw it. I was a little girl. I did not quite understand it as well, but I got to see Dorothy Dandridge play Bess.
Mm.
Sidney Poitier played Porgy. Sammy Davis Jr. played Sporting Life. It was just a wonderful production because rarely back then it was full color, and it's rarely that you saw an all-black cast in a movie theater on a film. And it was just wonderful in the songs and everything. And it was interesting. I think Sammy Davis Jr., he sang his songs, but I don't think Dorothy Dandridge or Sidney Poitier sang their songs. But, they put everything they could into that.
Yeah, these performers are incredible. They're incredible. From film to stage, it's great. It's amazing to watch wonderfully talented people.
And an inordinate amount of talent. So the show is going to be here for a week. And ticket prices, I think they range from $27 to, I saw the other.
$29 to $87.
$29 to $87. Now for $87, I know I'm sitting in the wings. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
You are down front for $87.
I
for
know,
that
I
at
know.
the Opera House.
But the one thing about the Opera House that is so good, there are no bad seats at the Opera House.
No. The Opera House is great. It is a great place to see a musical. It's a great place to see a show, and just to walk in there, it's it's a beautiful building. It's one of my favorite theaters in Detroit. I love it.
Well, this show won the 2012 award, Tony Award for Best Musical Revival.
Right. Absolutely.
Isn't it amazing? You could take it out of the trunk and throw it back on Broadway. And
well, yeah. I mean, well, that's what Diane Paulus, who's the director of this show, she was brilliant. And on our website, on our YouTube channel for Broadway in Detroit, we've got some videos from her talking about how she got to the point with this show and how she directed it. And she has done an amazing job, as well as all of the choreographers, the everyone involved with the production, to go back to the original Gershwin piece and look at what has been done with the show throughout the years, and take the best of all of that.
Do you remember some of the things she said that have been done?
Well, she actually taught I think it was at Harvard or one of the big
Yale
schools.
drama.
Yeah, she taught a workshop there about the Gershwins and about Porgy and Bess. So she brought all of that history with her to direct this production, and basically take it from the opera that it was. The Houston Grand Opera did an operatic version of this show that has pretty much become the standard by which most opera companies do their productions. And she took what they have done and what has been great about that and what has been great about Broadway, and she brought those two things together to make this a Broadway musical production. So if you've seen the opera version of this show, which we had a tour of it a few years ago that played the Opera House, you will see a different show with this show because it is a musical theater production. So it's like a Broadway musical.
Right, where with that, of course, they have dialogue instead of singing the whole show.
Right.
They have dialogue and then they have the singing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like, I mean, It Ain't Necessarily So, that's one of the songs in there. And as I said, Summertime, which Fantasia Barrino sang when she on American Idol. She did a beautiful, beautiful job of that show. I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me.
Yeah.
Golly. When you think about that song, I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me. Oh.
Well, I do know. I was reading about the show, and one of the things that they did is they looked at those songs and they kind of the songs in the show, and they kind of reinterpreted them a little bit in the staging for this production.
That's interesting.
For 2014. So when you go and you see the show, you're gonna like. It is great. One thing that's great about theater, and I think is great about it, presenting it and being involved in it, is how you can take a different artist, a different director, can take a piece that has been done over and over. Just think about Shakespeare, how many times people have done Shakespeare or what have you, and find new things in the production that someone else maybe has never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And bring it to light on stage and take something that is getting close to 100 years old, this script.
Yes.
And reinterpret it and put it back up on the stage and find new life in these lines that were written 90 years ago. It's incredible.
Okay, I think we have we have Alvin Crawford on the line, but first he plays Crown, but first we're going to show a video.
Yeah,
what is this video?
I haven't actually seen it, but it is a clip from the show, what we call in the business B-roll. So we're going to see some footage from the show and then talk to Alvin.
Okay, stay tuned. It's coming.
Technology.
I know.
Oh, there we go.
Good morning. We still need to see those photos and the ending. Good morning, Alvin.
Good morning.
How are you? Listen to that voice.
That is
I'm
great.
well. I'm
Listen
well.
to
How are
that.
you guys doing?
Fine. My name's Brenda Perryman, and this is my show. And I've seen this show a number of times, but you play Crown.
Yes, I do. I
You,
can barely hear you guys for some reason.
uh, can you hear me now? Can
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll just talk a little
You
closer,
just have to get closer to the mic.
and we have Scott who's doing the promotions here,
Hello, Scott.
Hi, Alvin. I'm excited to see you in the show.
and Alvin.
Yes.
How do you like playing this dastardly character, Crown?
Actually, I enjoy playing him a lot. Sometimes playing the villain can be incredibly cathartic.
I, you let out all of your emotions, right?
Yeah, emotion and aggression out on the stage. It actually can be a lot of fun.
Well, I just love. Well, I taught theater. I'm a retired secondary education teacher, and I
Mm.
taught musical theater and theater. I've directed over 100 plays, so I'm just with you in this. I just love you. I mean, I'm not of your caliber, of course, as far as an actor, but I understand this, and I see that you played in Raisin in the Sun.
Yeah, yeah.
Who did
That
you
was a
play?
really wonderful experience. It was directed by Felicia Rashad.
Oh, did you play Walter Lee?
No, I played Bobo, the
Oh,
the friend who loses the money.
yeah, everybody knows that. But when he goes, Willie,
Yes.
yes, that's a wonderful show, and it's opening on Broadway now. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, with Denzel Washington.
right, right. Now, my
Yeah.
question about back to Porgy and Bess. How long have you been with the production?
I've been with the production from the beginning of the national tour, which I think we launched the tour in San Francisco in the beginning, in November, actually, we launched.
Oh wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and have you enjoyed it so far?
I have. It's been a great opportunity to bring this, American show basically because it was created and composed by Gershwin and Du Bois, and it's about America. And so to have the opportunity to bring it across the country, it's been wonderful.
Oh, so, do you get to sing?
I do, yes. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those iconic songs like "Summertime." It ain't necessarily so. I Love You, Porgy, and there's a boat that's coming soon for New York. But I get to. I get to move around and play with all of the characters on stage.
Oh, I'm familiar with it. I saw as a little girl. I saw Brock Peters do it,
Oh,
and well, I saw him in the movie
right.
with Dorothy Dandridge. No, as a little girl, not New York for me, but I do know that role in your voice. Crown's voice has to be so resounding, and you have that voice.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And what has
No,
been?
it's
Oh,
fun to play Crown, and he's a much needed character in the storytelling. But the way I look at Crown is that he might be the villain, and as a lot of people will say, I guess, he's just misunderstood.
oh, okay. I see. We have your photo on the screen. It just went off the screen. You're a very handsome guy.
Oh,
But I want to ask, what is your height?
I'm 6'6".
Oh, that is wonderful.
Oh, thank
Ladies, you hear that?
You can thank
Everybody,
Mr. and Mrs. Crawford for that.
everybody likes the bad boy, in- including Bess liked him too.
And that's what I think is what people are really responding to in this production, because this production was charged by the Gershwin and Du Bois Foundation to create a theatrical version for to bring across the country and just have another version besides the opera version that can be sort of a companion piece to the traditional theatrical version and have two options of seeing this show. And I think what people are loving are the relationships with Porgy and Bess and Crown and Sport and Life and Clara and Jake and all the residents of Catfish Row.
How many are in the cast?
There's 26 of us. That's including our swings.
Wow.
And swings are people who cover the ensemble and some principal characters. So they understudy or cover multiple characters.
Wow.
And Alvin, you have a huge orchestra too with this. I think is it 33 pieces?
We do. We're very lucky. We have in each city we'll have 23 orchestra members in the pit. We travel with 3, which is the musical conductor, the first keyboard player, and the percussionist. And then we pick up the other orchestra members in each city.
Yeah, which is great. We've got, like you said, 23 local musicians that will be playing with this show in the pit at the Detroit Opera House.
Wow,
Which
this
is
gonna be
which
fun.
I'm really thankful to our producers for that, because they recognize that in order to tell this beautiful show and to really illustrate Gershwin's music, we need live music. So,
Well, that's
really
wonderful. And I can't wait to see the show. And I'm sure people here in Detroit can't wait to see the show. And we have to explain, it is a musical theater production.
yeah, it's a musical theater production. As I was saying earlier, it was charged by the Gershwin and Du Bois Foundation to create this production. Because not many people know that the original story was a book, and then it was a play, and then it became an opera or a musical. Then it went into the opera house. So basically, we've just sort of gone back with Diane Paulus, who's our director, and Susan Laurie Parks, who's the book adapter, and Deidre Murray, who is the musical supervisor, created this version and adapted this version for the stage.
Wow, this
And
is fabulous.
Personally, I know I'm a little biased because I'm in the show, but they did a fantastic job.
Have you ever been to Detroit?
I have not. It'll be my first time. Actually, no, that's not true. I've been to Detroit. I've never been to the Detroit Opera. But I was in Detroit. I played Detroit a while ago with a show called Martingale.
Oh, and that was at the Fisher.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. We were at the Fisher.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, you're at a different house this time, another beautiful, beautiful house, the Grand Opera
we're here.
House. Yes.
We're very excited about coming to Detroit.
Yes, and Detroit is excited about you and excited about Porgy and Bess. And are you in New York right now?
No, I'm actually in Cleveland.
Oh,
You guys you're across the lake from us right now.
Right, exactly.
Howard,
Exactly.
I've been hearing from folks. You guys got a pretty great review in Cleveland. How have the audience has been for you guys?
Oh, the audiences have been fantastic on this tour. They've been very receptive to the show, and it seems like it's what am I trying to say? It seems like it's been a slow burn. Like word of mouth has really been taking off, and we get stopped on the street all the time from people who have seen the show saying that it's really moved them and really touched them. And I think again that's because of the way the show has been adapted. And I also want to say that those iconic songs like Summertime and It Ain't Necessarily So, they are all still in this show, and it's beautiful.
we're
It's
happy.
really, really beautiful.
We're happy about that. And I see that you graduated from Juilliard.
Yeah.
And where are you originally from?
I am originally from Toronto, Canada.
Really?
And then I moved to New York to go to Juilliard and just stayed mostly in New York and here in the U.S.
Wow, fabulous. Well, Alvin, we are looking forward to seeing you as Crown. As Crown.
Thank you. We're looking forward to being there as well.
And I know you probably have a few stops to make prior, but
Yeah.
yes. So we'll welcome you here, and we're really excited about it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you. Is it
You're welcome.
Is it snow there?
Yes, there's a lot of snow here. There's maybe about a foot of snow.
Yeah.
Gee, everywhere. So you have a
Yeah.
wonderful day and have a great show.
Thank you, and you have a great day as well.
Break a leg. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was great.
That was fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for arranging that.
You're welcome. He sounds fantastic. I am very excited to see him. In the town.
Gosh, yes, and he's cute. um, okay, so let's go through this again, the times and dates and everything.
Yeah, it is March 4th through the 9th. Tickets are on sale now. They range from, I think we said $29 to $87. This weekend.
And they're group sales, too.
Yeah, you have group sales. We have a great group sales. And actually, this show for any educational groups, we also have student rates available.
Great.
You have to contact our group sales office, and you can find that information on our website at broadwayindetroit.com. But the show also has an incredible educational guide. So if you're a teacher or if you have students, we have that available. You can download it. It's an incredible study guide that goes with this show. And then, like I said earlier, today through Ticketmaster.com on Ticketmaster's deals page, there's a 2-for-1 offer on I think the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday performances. So the first three shows.
Oh, that's fabulous. That is fabulous. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it together and support this musical. You will love it. Absolutely love it. And, Scott, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Brenda.
And I will remind the audiences.
Okay. It's been wonderful being here. This is fantastic.
Thank you very much, WHPR. I'd like to thank everybody. And, Scott, you have a wonderful day. And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, too.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back with Karen Samuels, everyone. Good morning once again, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show, right here on TV 33 WHPR. And with me this morning is Karen Samuels. I'm really excited to talk to her because let her tell you, but it has a lot to do with WGPR, where a lot of us got our start in television. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Brenda. I am delighted to be on your program, and you're right. You really have been a guest and featured on one of our programs and one of our most famous WGPR alums.
Well, that was just my first time.
Okay, that
and
was the
then
first time.
I ended up doing late night entertainment with RJ, and then I did new dance show stuff. I wasn't dancing, but I was coming on helping with some things, and also there were so many shows on WGPR. I was on another one, plus I did some radio stuff with RJ Watkins on there. So WGPR just had a plethora of programs. Why don't you tell our audience what's happening?
Well, what's happening is that some of the GPR alumni got together and created the WGPR Historical Society. And our mission and vision was to create a museum within the studio space right there at 3146 East Jefferson to preserve and tell the history of the first African-American owned TV station in the country. Now, a lot of people aren't aware of that. They don't know that WGPR was the first in the nation. So that's a major Detroit story. And when you were talking about programming and all the plethora of programming, because the station was an independent station, it didn't have a network affiliation. Therefore, they had to locally produce all the shows.
And they had news and sports.
News and sports, we had 2 newscasts a day, every day.
Isn't that nice?
Speaking of sports was one of our shows with Bill Humphreys.
Yes.
And we had all various talk shows. Amir Jacobson, who is now with, she's a retired broadcaster.
Channel 50.
With Channel 50. But she got her start there at WGPR. And, as we were formulating our society, which is a nonprofit, and we're having our fundraiser, our debut fundraiser, Friday, February 21st at the Detroit Historical Society. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But as we were forming our group, we realized there is not a station in the market, in this market, that doesn't have someone who passed through WGPR. That's from, WDT, Fox, Channel 7, Channel 4, Channel 50, they've all had alum. That was the impact on people's careers because Dr. Banks, the founder, wanted not only to have minority programming, but he wanted to give the opportunity for African Americans to be involved in front of the camera and behind the scenes. And as an independent station, we're a union town, but as an independent station, people had the opportunity to be directors, operate cameras, work master control, where they wouldn't have had that opportunity anyplace else.
Absolutely not. Why don't you tell the audience what your beginning was at WGPR?
Well, my beginnings really started as an intern. And I was a graduate of Indiana University, and I had family here. I had an aunt who lived here, and I was majored in journalism and African American studies, and I was looking for a job. And I spent some time up here one summer, and I became an intern at the station. I approached them. You know, as all college graduates, you have your little resume and credentials together, and they said, "Well, come aboard. You've got the right kind of background." That's after that summer, they hired me. And then I became a news writer, a reporter, anchor, ultimately left as news director after 6 years.
Wow.
So, and also hosted a program called Black Film Showcase. Now, Black Film Showcase was interesting because the station manager, Tanisha Gregory, had purchased about 30 or 40 films by and about African Americans. Films directed by Oscar Micheaux, a film starring Paul Robeson, some silent films. And I said, you know what? We should do a program and air the movies, and then I'll come on and talk about the history and the background. So that's how we created Black Film Showcase. And I think it was probably one of the first TV programs to address that area. So as an example, WGPR had so many different kinds of programs.
The scene.
The scene. Let me tell you, there is not a person in Detroit, I've come to believe, that did not have a connection to the scene.
You know, it's so funny
Who
talking
didn't appear.
talking about theater. When I was over at Highland Park, there was a play that I wrote, and the students performed it, and the young man in the play says, "I got to get home in time for the scene." Everybody had to get home in time for the scene.
That's right. It was an afternoon program, and Nat Morris was the host.
Yes.
Very popular, and because WGPR TV was under the same roof as 105,
107.5.
FM, we had artists who would come on to promote their records on radio who would then appear on the scene and vice versa. So we had, people like Stevie Wonder, all kinds of artists who came through. And the scene was just the place for young people to go. So, there are a lot of people who appeared on the scene, watched the scene. We did a show with Stephen Henderson, American Black
Journal.
And he made a confession. He said, "I appeared on the scene.
My
I was a
goodness.
dancer on the scene. I think the tape is in my mother's basement somewhere."
Oh my goodness.
And I said, so there's, it has touched so many people.
Yes.
And as we've become involved in putting together the fundraiser, putting together a museum, people have been so generous with their stories and really are excited about the prospect of, and it's a huge undertaking.
Well, I think people need to be really, really excited about that because WGPR was so accommodating. My students did a parody of the scene as part of a variety show. And I contacted the station, and Nat Morris let my students come on the show. And one of the young man who portrayed Nat Morris got to turn the town back and bring the town, so it was a wonderful experience for them. And they were too young to be on the scene or anything really, but it just opened the doors for so many things, and to get young people to see what a studio looked like, and the camera people and the professional,
and so many people had their first start at WGPR. So when you're coming out of school and you're trying to get that first job, they say, "Well, what's your experience?" Well, WGPR radio and TV, but particularly TV, gave people their first chance at the opportunity. So when you talk about those kids, they get to see the studio, they get to see the operation, how it worked, and then we would hire people out of school, people who had an interest. We would train them, mentor them, develop them, and on they went. And our most famous alum is Sean Robinson, who I understand. Tell me about that, Brenda.
Well, that was interesting because Sean Robinson, who's on Extra, isn't
Access Hollywood.
Access Hollywood, she worked at WGPR, and the first interview I ever did was with Sean Robinson, and I was getting ready to direct a play at the library here in Highland Park, and it was an adult play called The 5 Minutes, written by Richard Josie, who is an alum of Highland Park Community High School and University of Michigan, and they allowed us to come on, and that was our first interview, and so many people saw it and responded. And I remember Sean saying, well, after I leave here, I plan to go to Hollywood.
How about that?
And she looks the same, and it's been 30 years.
I don't know if it's been a whole 30, but she does have some
It
magic.
was 30. It was 30. I remember the year. It was 1983.
Oh, that's right. It has been 30 years. And we do want to bring Sean back.
I hope so.
At some point, because she is one of the, I'll call her a celebrity journalist. But she owns the fact that she got her start at WGPR.
Yes.
Some people who go on to fame and glory don't always own where they received their start. So we said, good, we like that. We want you to come back. So it's going to be a very interesting opportunity.
Remind the audience of the year WGPR went on the air.
They went on the air September 29th, 1975. At the time, Gerald Ford was president, and he was a Michigan native. But he sent a congratulatory message to the station for going on the air. And at our fundraiser, we will be playing his congratulatory message to WGPR. I mean,
fabulous.
That's the kind of history we want to be able to demonstrate and show why it's important to preserve this. This is not only a national story, it's a major Detroit story.
Yes.
Anyone who travels down Jefferson to Belle Isle, they go past what we're calling a pioneering broadcaster who's going to become a historical landmark.
Good.
So every time they pass, but they don't realize it. So we're going to be opening the doors. Now, if I can talk a little bit about how this is going to transpire.
Yes, that's what I want. Yes.
I mean, how do people in broadcasting and other fields decide to become curators and experts in museum exhibits? Well, as it happens, the Detroit Historical Museum has a community gallery, and they have offered us the opportunity to work with their curators as we've collected our artifacts and video clips and so forth to put an exhibit in the community gallery in January, February of 2016. Now that may seem like a long time away, but we're doing all our collection, all of the different things that tell the history of not only the station, but the founder, Dr. William Banks. So once that exhibit has a 3-month run at the community gallery, it will be transferred to the studios of the station on Jefferson, and September 2016 will be our opening of the Broadcaster Museum.
That gives me chills.
Oh,
I am so excited about that.
And we think, everybody's familiar with the Motown Museum, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the attractions is you're visiting the recording studios where the actual artists sang and recorded and made history. The same thing for us. Our exhibit will be in the studios of the station, and we'll have interactive exhibits and displays. We'll have an opportunity for people to participate in a mock broadcast so that they understand what it means to be on TV. And so we think it's going to be a very unique visitor experience and something to add to the cultural landscape of Detroit. Anybody coming?
One of our radio hosts here, and she volunteers here too, is Kimberly Price McDade. Kim Price. She used to work in traffic.
Oh my God! And traffic is one of those important behind-the-scenes operational positions, and I'm glad you brought up someone in traffic, because people who aren't broadcasting think that must be the people who are, stop signs, traffic lights. No, people who are in traffic are paying attention to all of the commercials and so forth that are part of the important revenue base.
Well, that's the first time I heard about traffic was from her, because she was working down there then when I went down there, and she's such a wonderful, wonderful woman. I want to give a shout out to Kim.
Good shout out.
Yes, and she learned so much too. And traffic, because when she said traffic at first, I said, what is traffic?
Yeah.
But they are so important, as you said.
Right. They're very critical. And I want to talk a little bit about, we don't give a lot of credit to not only the story of WGPR as part of broadcast history, but there's also a major business story here.
Yes.
Dr. William Banks, the founder, was a visionary businessman. He owned property. He owned the Broderick Towers at the time.
Really?
He owned
I didn't.
He owned the Broderick Towers. He owned property around Michigan. And this was all part of the fraternal order he started, which is the International Free and Accepted Modern Masons and Eastern Stars. Most fraternal orders have a social or community focus. His Masons were very business driven. They purchased the first African American owned FM station in Michigan, 107.5 FM. Went on then to purchase the station, WGPR TV channel 62. And it was his relationship. He was a Republican. Now, African Americans were Republicans at a certain era.
Yes, they were.
He was invited to the White House by President Nixon, who said at the time the conversation turned to the scant representation of African Americans. There were no African American owned TV station or owners. He said, I'm going to make sure the FCC gets you a license, and it happened. We have a video that we'll play at this fundraiser. You don't want to miss it, February 21st.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that and how we get the tickets.
But we'll have a tape where the only tape that exists where Dr. Banks talks just a little bit about his meeting at the White House, state dinner with the president. So we had two presidents who had involvement. We've had the career impact that's been broad, including yourself and many, many others. A lot of viewers. The Scene was the most popular program. Everybody knows. I mean, it goes on and on.
And that transcended African Americans. Everybody,
people from Windsor
watch The Scene.
Watch The Scene. We had Arab Voice. We were probably the first station. We had Arab language programming. And we had, on Saturdays, they had live wrestling matches in the studio.
Oh.
We had religious programs. We had, Detroit Crime Alert. We want to bring all of these stories, the background and the history, and that of the founders, to say, boy, this is amazing. It's amazing.
It is totally amazing. And I don't want to dismiss Paul Humphreys, who did the sports. I've seen some clippings of him, just totally professional.
Very, very, very professional, and he was part of the Sportscasters Association, and he had recognition. We have a clip for our museum of him interviewing Jesse Owens. Bill Humphreys interviewing Jesse Owens. I mean, these are the kind of things that over the next 2 years, we're going through hundreds of hours of tape. We're collecting things. We're assembling the story.
Well, David Humphreys has a show here. This is one of his sons.
This one's right here.
Right.
Okay,
and
yes,
he has a show, and they may have some information and some things you may want. And I've had two of Mr. Humphreys' sons on, and everything. He just really was a wonderful interviewer.
Very good interviewer, and we've got to give a shout out to R.J. Watkins.
Oh, definitely.
TV 33, R.J. has said on more than one occasion, were it not for Dr. Banks and the experiences he had at WGPR, he wouldn't have WHPR today. And he followed in the footsteps of Nat Morris in The Scene when it went off the air with the dance show.
New dance show, and R.J., when I guess I started working with RJ in like 1983, late 83. He did something on the play we had, and we started just doing things together. And he would always say, "I'm going to see Dr. Banks. I want to make sure I come correct," and everything
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
The respect level for Dr. Banks.
He was such a mentor
Yes.
to all of his staff who had connections with him. I had the opportunity. We used to do weekly editorials, and I would go into his office, whatever the topic of the news. Dr. Banks would do his, probably one of the early TV editorials, and he would give his position on the news.
Well, we have Tom on the line right now. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning to both of you. I remember a show, and if I got the young lady's name right, her name was Angela Stribling, and she did it was a talk show, but I thought it was real. It was real good, and it was real informative because they covered mostly local issues. But I remember that show just like it was yesterday, and I remember the two young ladies who used to do the news broadcast as well. And I thought they were very professional, and they delivered well, and they had good presence in the whole 9 yards.
Well, thank you for the call.
I can't hear you.
I said thank you very much for the call.
Okay, thanks for taking it.
And the show you're referring to, I think, was in the 80s, and talk shows were very popular program format because it brought the community in. We had a chance to explore issues, topics, and that were not being covered at the time by the other broadcast stations. And it also gave, as the caller said, an opportunity to develop talent, who I think he said they were very good. And
Very
the two young
good.
ladies who did the news and so forth.
Well, I remember in the 80s when RJ had late night entertainment and appearing on there, and there was Ron Banks. It was always there. That's my buddy, Ron. The late, great Ron Banks. And, of course, he was on the scene, New Dance Show, the Dramatics were. Everybody was on the scene. And he would have celebrities from out of town come in. He had a staff who could get these people.
Well, because we were a radio and TV station, people were very interested in making sure that their music was heard and so forth. Then we had movie stars come through. I have to tell you, the station was really an exciting place to work, as you can imagine. We're all young, we're in our 20s, we're getting our first chance, and artists and stars would come through all the time. And I remember when Pam Grier came to the station, the buzz that went out among the men at that station who had seen all kind of artists. I mean, they'd seen the Dramatics, Ron Banks and Stevie Wonder. When Pam Grier walked through that station, the men went crazy.
Foxy Brown.
She was at the height of her beauty and talent. She's still a great actress, but she came through there, and I'd never seen Nat Morris, who'd seen it all. All of them were like, RJ can tell you about that if you remember that.
I know RJ could tell us about it. I know.
So it was exciting.
So tell the audience when the fundraiser is, how we get tickets and everything.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay, the fundraiser is at the Detroit Historical Museum Friday, a week from today, Friday at 6:30 until 10. And what you're going to be treated to, tickets are $60. That includes valet parking.
Oh, great.
That includes strolling dinners. That includes video clips of all of the programs, some of which we've been talking about here today. We'll have dancers. We'll have music. It's going to be a party. You don't want to miss it. This is a fundraiser. This is our debut. So it's really important that people come out and give us their support. Now, you can get tickets by going to our website, which is Facebook page, which is WGPR TV Historical Society. Click on that. You can buy tickets. You can also go to tellusdetroit.com.
Tell us Detroit.
.com. And on the top banner, there's our flyer. You can click on it, buy tickets. And some people, that's all online credit card payment. Some people are reluctant to buy
Right.
online. Well, you can also come to the event and pay on site.
Good.
So we've had a variety. We've had some people say, I'm kind of nervous about online transactions, and so we've opened that up.
Oh, I'm so happy you done that because everybody doesn't get online. So that's next Friday, the 21st
In the streets of old Detroit, we've got to open and find.
Oh, it's beautiful
Oh,
down
it's
there. If you
beautiful.
haven't been to the
Oh,
historical museum and the
Oh,
streets of old Detroit, it's
right,
just
right.
wonderful. And that's on Kirby
That's on Kirby, and I understand it's
in
going to be
Woodward.
warm. It's going to be warmed up. It's going to be 50
Oh,
degrees.
Lord.
Come out and have a good time.
You're kidding.
That's
Oh.
what they say. So again, tickets, you can go to our Facebook page, WGPR TV Historical Society, and click on there. You can do online purchase or tellusdetroit.com, or just come out to the event. We'll take you.
Well, I really will try to make it. I really, really will.
You don't wanna
And
miss it.
thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you very much. You're an official WGPR alum. We hope to see you that night.
Oh, I hope to come. You know, and I just got to credit R.J. Watkins and Nat Morris, all of them for kind of teaching me
Yeah.
what to do. And I never forget George Murchison. Remember George? Well, he
George Matthews or
Mer-
George White?
George. Oh, I forgot
Well,
George
there was-
Hutchinson.
George Hutchinson. That's a
Well, anyway, he
But there were a lot
he
of
was
names.
behind the camera, and he
Oh,
said,
okay.
he was the manager, floor manager or something like
stage
that.
Manager.
Well,
Nate
whatever.
McAlpin
And
oh, yeah.
he used to tell me, he said, when you're talking to RJ he's on the couch. I mean, you're on the couch, he's on the table. Look at RJ. And I look at RJ, probably looking at the camera too, just cheating.
Sneaking
So
a peek.
join us at 1:00 today for Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. And we have Mr. Richard Harrison on the panel today. So it's going to be a great show. So I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll see you next time.